The National Institute of Mental Health estimates that 1 in 5 people will experience a mental illness in their lifetime. 1 in 4 Americans currently know someone who has a mental illness. With these odds, it's likely that most employers have or will have at least one employee with this type of disability. This makes learning to support and manage accommodations for mental illness a necessity. In an educational environment, this can be difficult. A teacher's presence in the classroom isn't only important, it's required. Here, there's an ethical and legal obligation to support the teacher, as well as an ethical and legal obligation to support the students. Let's set the stage. You have a special education teacher suffering from a mental illness and requiring inpatient hospital stays, sometimes for months on end. Qualified substitutes are very hard to find, and the frequent changes that this creates in the classroom is upsetting to students who need structure and consistency to thrive in a school setting. Is a school district required to accommodate educators with mental illnesses when they cannot be present in the classroom? So what are the rules? There are 3 main applicable areas of the law we can look for guidance: the Family Medical Leave Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and local guidance on public school provisions. If eligible, the Family Medical Leave Act can protect an employee's position and benefits for up to 12 weeks for a qualifying serious health condition. The Americans with Disabilities Act gives civil rights protections and equal opportunity to individuals with disabilities. This includes a responsibility on employers to provide a reasonable accommodation when one exists. A reasonable accommodation is defined by the EEOC as any change in the work environment that enables someone with a disability to enjoy equal employment opportunities. An employer is not required to implement an accommodation that could cause undue hardship. For this example, we will focus on the state of Washington, where common school provisions require that school districts ensure the proper placement of teachers with the proper endorsements, in this case, special education. They must maintain a good order and safety in the classroom, providing each student with the opportunity to achieve the skills necessary for individual learning. Generally, federal courts have agreed that an employer can lawfully terminate an employee for excessive absenteeism, even when the absences are due to a disability covered by the American Disabilities Act, if regular attendance is an essential function of the position. The first step is to evaluate the situation for applicable laws. Does the teacher qualify for FMLA? Is the mental illness experienced a covered disability under the ADA? Are there any reasonable accommodations that could be implemented? An employee's medical provider and the Department of Labor's Job Accommodation Network can offer specific suggestions for accommodations around different types of mental illnesses. Remember, the law leaves room for employers to judge what's reasonable. Employers are not required to provide a specific accommodation requested by an employee. Let's get back to our example. Our teacher has utilized all family medical leave available and is still unable to return to work in a full-time status. Even if qualified substitutes can sometimes be found, the disruption his absenteeism is causing to his students is not creating the stable, consistent environment they need, and no accommodation can help resolve his medical need to be absent from work. Since no reasonable accommodation exists that will improve the teacher's ability to be present in the classroom, it is necessary to end the employment relationship. Not all educators with mental illness need to be terminated. The range of disability accommodations is expansive and can often offer win-win solutions for both employee and employer. Always ensure accommodations are explored before taking other drastic measures.
Created using Powtoon.